Good afternoon, everybody. This is Deborah Jones. I'm with the Blue Table Talk. Um, Thank you for coming on tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking about voting and Black Lives Matter. So get your paper and pencils out, and don't forget to show me your comments so that whatever you want to ask our gentlemen out here tonight, to our guests tonight, feel free to ask them. Tonight we have Dr. Terrence Grant Malone, Reverend Eddie McGriff, and Reverend Vernon Tubbs whenever he gets in. But before we go into that, let me do a little housekeeping as usual. Don't forget that COVID is still out there, and you can get your COVID shots. You can get your COVID shots through um, at MD Pediatrics. Appointments not required, but suggested at 490 IH10 North Frontage Road, Suite number 100, Beaumont, Texas 77705. You can do it Monday through Friday from 8 to 6, on Saturday from 10 to 12. You can also go to Crystal Ray Church on Avenue A. No appointment is necessary. Now, don't forget that early voting starts October the 13th through the 30th. You can register to vote all the way up to October 5th. So let's get out there and register to vote. If you have not registered to vote yet, please do so by October 5th. Early vote election day is November 3rd. On the Democratic side, we have Joe Biden president, MJ Hager, U.S. Senate, Adrian Bell, U.S. House of Representatives, Crystal Casadena, Railroad Commissioner, Jay Siddle Berg, Texas Senate District, Joe Desatel, Texas House of Representatives, District 22, Zena Stevens, Sheriff, and Javon Pollard, Constable, Precinct 1. Good afternoon. Okay, so we have our ministers on tonight. Hello, everybody. I'm going to introduce you one by one. We're going to go in alphabetical order. First, I have Reverend Dr. Terrence Grant Malone, pastor of historic St. John Missionary Baptist Church in Houston, Texas. He's a native of Beaumont, Texas, where he labored as a licensed and ordained minister at Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church in Beaumont, Texas. While in undergrad school, he served as a college minister at the Mount Zion Baptist Church in Austin, Texas, under the leadership of Dr. G.V. Clark. Dr. Grant Malone served as vice president of the National Baptist Youth and Children's Convention of America, Incorporated. He is a sought-after evangelist, educational facilitator, motivational keynote speaker. Politically, Dr. Grant Malone has served as the request of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and former United States Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton. Served as Board of Trustee of Huston-Tillotson University of Austin, Texas, and now serves as Board of Trustee at Philander Smith College in Little Rock, Arkansas. He's married for almost 3 years to Valerie Davis Grant Malone. We welcome Dr. Terrence Grant Malone. Hey, Dr. Malone.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
Now we have Reverend Eddie McGriff. Reverend Eddie McGriff is a longtime resident of Beaumont, Texas. He's married 42 years to Joan McGriff with 2 adult children, 7 grandchildren, 1 great-grand. He's a retired maintenance supervisor of the city of Beaumont, proud pastor of House of Prayer Missionary Baptist Church for 19 years. He has a master's degree from International School of Divinity, a degree in interdisciplinary studies with a practical ministry certificate of expository preaching method. Born again, baptized follower of Christ, and a love of God, of all God's people. We welcome Reverend Eddie McGriff. Hello, Reverend McGriff. Reverend McGriff.
Hello there, everybody. See you all. Good to be with you all.
Yeah. Now we have Reverend Vernon Tubbs. Reverend Vernon Tubbs, he has been in ministry for 39 years and pastoring for 25 years at Full Gospel Baptist Church. He's currently married with 3 children and 2 grandchildren. Reverend Tubbs is a public relations director of Baptist Ministers Union of Beaumont and Vicinity, president of the Congress of Christian Education for the Old Landmark Baptist District Association, member of CAPS, which is Clergy and Police Partnership, and also a member of the advisory board for the Beaumont Police Department. He's election liaison for a judge for Jefferson County Democrat Party and board member for the Beaumont Disaster Response. We welcome Reverend Vernon Tubbs. Hello, Reverend Tubbs.
Evening. How you doing?
I'm great. Glad to see you. Glad you got ready. Glad you came in. Can you hear us? I know that's right.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we welcome your comments on the screen. So if you want to ask anything, be sure to type them in, and then I will take them over to all the ministers and let them hear it, and they will answer your questions. But before then, I have some for them. Remember, for you guys, remember that every 10 years the census comes, and the last day to file for your census is September the 30th. So guys, please file for the census, because we are funded in all kind of area with the census money. Don't let it pass us by. If you have not filed, go to www.2020census.gov or fill out the application, or use the one that they sent to you and mail it in. As I said earlier, last day to register to vote is October the 5th. Early voting from October 13th through the 30th. Let's do this. Let's get out and vote. We have 20 more days before early voting and 42 days before the election day. Okay? All right. You guys ready? Hello, can y'all hear me?
I think so.
All right, let's go. Okay, so locally we have candidates that are hoping to be reelected along. Are we talking about the local part right now? So locally we have candidates that are hoping to be reelected along with the new candidates out there to be elected for the first time. How can we help our voters to understand why this person or that person is the right one to vote for? Then how can we motivate people to get out and vote? Because right now I have a gut feeling that people aren't motivated to vote. So how can we motivate these people to vote? That's to anybody.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
You want to go fast?
Yeah, let me go because I'll be brief. I guess I really had to work with myself when it came to the notion of trying to motivate people to vote. We were brought up in the time where people hadn't long had some of the obstacles and the challenges that was removed through the Voting Act in 1965. And so it was imperative, it was drilled in us. And so to a certain degree, I have somewhat of a problem with folk that need extra motivation. It is just disrespectful to our ancestors, to those that came before us, who worked so hard and had to give so much sacrifice for us just to have the right to vote. And so I just would ask people to look back at their history and look at the sacrifices that was made for them to have this right. Your vote is your power. Your vote is your voice. And anytime you don't exercise the right to vote, you actually add power, give power to those who do vote. And so I would ask that people would just research themselves as to vote. So I'll yield now to Dr. Tubbs and to Dr. Malone.
Thank you, Pastor. Look at your question. Believe that we have to get an understanding that the election is just for a president or just for a vice president, or even when we look at our local officers. Because, excuse me, as Pastor McGriff said, there's been a lot of sacrifices that have been made in order for people to be able to have this right. If I look back in history, remember my parents having to pay a poll tax before they could vote. But I believe that if we're going to be motivated, we have to look down the road as well, because right now, some of the decisions, some of those elected officials that are being appointed, because they have been elected, they have a responsibility to appoint, and some of those appointments are for a lifetime. And they'll be in positions. Judges, for example, will be in positions for 40, 50 years, as long as they're alive. So, but I believe it's important to know that every person that's running for office will have an effect on us, whether it's financially, economically, emotionally, all of that plays into it. And we just have to make sure that if you understand all of that, hopefully that'll be enough motivation for you to vote. Because now you're talking about your Social Security, you're talking about getting a lot of your personal things that you've been dependent on, that's in jeopardy of being taken away. So if you don't care about that, uh, you're not going to vote. But I'm sure that many care about that, and that should be enough motivation to know that you need to get out. If you haven't registered, that you still got time to register, and then make sure that you go and vote also. Thank you.
I agree with both of our pastors. I think that one of the things that we can look at the history, but there's a lack of motivation because people, especially in local elections, don't see how it affects them. And this is a new generation. The generation is about immediate change. What's going to happen right now? What's going to affect me right now? And so when you look at local elections, it's important that I think, as far as motivation, we have sectors in our church where we can influence. I saw Ralph Perkins there with Pastor McGriff. I think it's important to have people like him who can go in spaces where, some of us, it's not about age either. It's about being tech savvy and being able to do it, but have him to go into rooms that we possibly cannot get into because we uh, automatically turn people off because we are the institution or because we have been a part of the church. But there are places that people in our churches can go that we can't go. And so we've got to deploy everybody at this point. And people have to understand that all of the elections right now affect us more than they ever have before. It's serious. It's a rough time, and things will not change, cannot change until everybody is engaged in voter motivation, and all of us have to do that.
So why do you think that this election is so crucial, local, state, national? Why do you think that's so crucial now than it ever has been than other elections?
Because, as Reverend Tubbs says, when president starts to, affect the federal judge positions, these positions are forever. And of course, the Supreme Court, and I know we're going to talk about that later, but all of these positions uh, affect what's happening with the racial people. What we are seeing is history in a cycle. It's in a circle. It's coming back again. Things that I read about, things that I watch eyes on the prize about in school are happening again. I'm looking every night at Sean King's Instagram and Facebook where people are getting bit by dogs, where they're getting beat up brutally. And then on the counterpart, you have white America and especially white evangelicals who are coasting along and coddling people who have mistreated folks. And if we don't understand, as Biden said, we are in this for the soul of America, like the moral fabric of our country, then we're in trouble. And right now, this we've never seen an administrator say, "Go get guns and go get ammunition" in this modern history. And the man from CDC said that the other day, and he's a part of the administration that was given to us by Trump. And when you have people speaking like this, you're looking for America to go haywire because you don't know who's got what. And if you go to Academy, guns and ammunition are gone. We ain't bought it, so somebody did.
Exactly. So I've noticed that how Trump has been talking about the military and how he just really downright just really almost just spit in their face, and how he talked bad about them. So what do y'all think about that? Because the military people are the ones that really are helping us out. So, but Trump really he doesn't care about anything but himself. So this, like you said, this is so crucial that we vote now, so that we know. You got to look at who's on what ticket and who's on another ticket. So even though we know what Trump has done from the time he was in there since 2016 to today, and he blurted out, "Let's make America great again." How can we do that? How can we get our nation back to what it used to be before 2016?
Deborah, can y'all hear me? Okay, well, I've lost my hearing. Okay, I can't hear anything. Can you still see him?
We hear you.
Okay, I'm just fading back in, and now if you guys can communicate, y'all go right ahead, because I'm not hearing myself or anybody else. So Pastor Tubbs or Terrence, if y'all want to chime in, just go right ahead, because I'm not hearing myself or anybody.
Okay, the question was, how do we make America great again? Donald Trump has a misconception that America has been great for black people. During the 20s, Madam C.J. Walker, first black on the million, things were well, but you still experience segregation, you still experience a degradation and dehumanization for black America. And so he lives in a fictitious and fantasy world when he says, make America great again. No, what he's not doing is making America great again. He's making America hate again. We had gotten to a period with Obama where we at least talked about hope and the audacity to hope. He wrote the book, and black people and white people, everybody was together. And then we've come to a place where it looks like we've plowed back 40, 50 years, and folks are not speaking to one another. People are getting stopped for no reason. People are getting beat. And so he didn't help to make America great. He helped America hate. And it was deeply embedded in rural America, but they've come forth like they ain't been hiding out like ants. He stirred up the hornet's nest, and they are everywhere.
Absolutely. I think I'm back now, have my voice. I heard Dr. Grant. And I was tying the previous question, the first question, to this one, make America great again. Unbeknownst to us, to the voter who does not participate, Terrence, in essence, we are helping bring America back when we don't vote. And that's what's so critical about we having people on the outside trying to decide whether or not they want to participate in the election. If you and I don't vote or don't participate, in essence, we're helping them take the country back to what's convenient for them. And so that's why it's so critical. But now Donald Trump is who you see. He's always been that way. And I really think more disturbing to me is that machine that is behind him. And so he's just a Ponzi man. He's just somebody they put out front. So I'm not surprised by his actions. I'm in no way am I agreeable with them, and I am appalled by them. And certainly I have disdain for him. But I think when it comes to the machine that's behind him, I think that's why we need to expose. That's really their agenda, making America great again. I think it was Deborah said initially when we started out that President Trump is a selfish individual. He only cares about himself, and that's why he's willing to sell the country out to another country, because that's how much he cares for not only people of color or other people, but he really doesn't care about his own people. And it's so sad that they don't see that. And so, but I just wanted to add that if whatever people of color, or even white people that suffer from voter apathy, if they do not participate in the election, it is a vote to make America again, white again, or hate again, like Terrence is saying.
I don't think people understand voter suppression, and the way it operates. And so too many people have died. They don't understand that too many, like you guys said earlier, that too many people have died for us and are still dying. I mean, look at just the other day, Ginsburg just passed away. She was pushing for us. So now he's ready to put somebody in her seat, and by the end of this week. I mean, 2 people that he have right up front to put in his seat. So, but I thought that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that you cannot, this is the election year, so you can't place somebody in somebody's seat, in their seat, Supreme Court seat, until someone comes up for that job. The next president comes up. He just thinks that he's already won the election. So I'm going to go ahead and do what I need to do, put somebody in that seat, and then let them be the next Supreme Court justice person. So what do y'all think about that?
Pastor Tubbs, you've been silent.
You think he could do it? I think he's frozen right now. Okay. Oh, he's
okay.
You know what? He's muted. Wait, hold on.
Oh, he's muted. So
go ahead.
I'll take a shot at it. Yeah, I'll take a shot at it. See, what we have, the law, what's right, what's sensible, and what's fair does not matter to Donald Trump or to the Republican Party. I mean, so even though they set a precedence with President Obama when they denied him the right to appoint, even have a vote on the Supreme Court justice, they set that new precedence, but that doesn't mean anything to them. And I think we're seeing that firsthand right now. So, and I got 2 trains of thoughts when it comes to that, is because I don't know if we want to be sidetracked, Terrence, and you can help me with this, solely focusing, putting our attention at this late in the game on it, because we have to find a way to get this dude out of office. And so I think we need to be the main issue, well, to keep it for the people, I think, is COVID-19 and that lapse of judgment upon Donald Trump and his whole cabinet. And so even though Deborah White, the replacement on the Supreme Court, I think it's so late in the game, and I don't think you're going to reason or rationalize with him. Now, that's just my reality. I just believe in dealing with what's real. So I don't know.
Well, we had, am I there? Y'all can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
You can, okay.
But listening to what you just mentioned, I think one of the things that I look at voters, and that's something that takes place in different avenues and different areas, because anytime they try to stop them voting, anytime they change the lines, and anytime they try to make you think that you're better off voting for one area, voting for him, voting for Trump, all of that leads to voter suppression. Yet when you start closing down precincts, closing down areas where you vote, you can't vote in your own neighborhood, all of that goes towards voter suppression. That's why that people would vote early, because working the polls, I found out how people will come at the last day, and you've been there, Deborah, and you've seen how they rush in there at the last day, and some of them get frustrated because of the long lines and leave. But you got 3 weeks of early, and you can go anytime you get ready, wherever you want to go, and that way you don't have to get frustrated on November the 3rd when that voting comes. But if you take advantage of the early vote, if you can't go and walk in, somebody come out to your car and bring everything out. You won't even have to get out of your car if you can't come in. So it's really no excuse for you not to vote. But there's a lot going on that to try to keep us from voting. Should not let any of that stop us, because we know we have a right, and that's not only just for us.
I was just to add to that about to say that Mitch McConnell set a precedent years ago. Lindsey Graham set a precedent years ago. And Lindsey Graham went on record and said, you can quote me, that the American people should have a voice in the election. That was when we had 11 months prior to the next president taking place, or the election taking place. We have less than 47 days, and he is trying to push it through. This is what we must understand. And you talked about the military earlier too, and I think we answered that a whole lot. But with everything, Donald Trump seems to feel that he is above the law. This is the America that he seeks to make great again, because he has not had to deal with the struggle, the strain that Black America has dealt with. But now he feels like he doesn't have to deal with anything that any American has to do. The first time in history that American soldiers have been used to use force against the American people, to get them out of the streets of Washington, D.C., for him to take a picture with the Bible in the front of a church that didn't want him there. I mean, he utterly destroys every thought process that relates. And so with Ginsburg, Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing, he's rushing to put these seats because he has to pay. Now, we know what type of lady he's trying to put in, but he's got to pay back the conservatives. He's got to pay back the evangelical church. And to some degree, unfortunately, our brothers and sisters have sold out in the evangelical church to get whatever he's giving them. And he's not doing it with the Black church, which is why he goes and he picks somebody who he believes is an evangelical thrust and will push the church. He doesn't know whether it's 2 Corinthians or 2 Corinthians. So he doesn't know what he's talking about. The reality of it is he ain't been to Sunday school and probably don't know what Sunday school is. So here's the deal. He will do whatever it takes to get him back in the office. I think, Aunt Deborah, you said it, and Pastor McGriff said it. He feels that there is nobody on earth but him. He's narcissistic and he feels he's above the law.
What I thought he was is exactly who he is. And I know we don't have time to talk about white evangelicals and the role that they have played, how they've given Donald Trump carte blanche. And we had a tremendous moral-free president with President Obama. I mean, you'd had to take a microscope to find something on this dude. And I mean, they demonized him. You know, white evangelicals and white men, they demonized this dude who had been married for 26 years, was a great father, was a great ethical and a role model of a leader. But then we come along and they just hand the reins over to Donald Trump. And I mean, but again, it speaks to who's behind him, the machine that is behind him. And so going back to what's important about voting, that's why it's important, because that's really that's your only power. That's your only voice. And we have to participate. That's the only way we can participate in the game. Now, we can't change America alone on the Black vote or brown vote, but it does give us a voice at the table. And that's why we must galvanize and stand together. And but again, it's a lot. It's just a lot going on in our country. And but to make America great again, now let's don't help them going back making America great by not voting, by not participating. And we must use our voice, not only elevate ourselves, but our community as well. Because then again, when you think about Pastor Tubbs and Dr. Grant, is that, man, when we're voting, we're not just voting for ourselves. I'm voting for my family. I'm voting for my children, my grandchildren who cannot vote. I'm voting for guys who have been incarcerated and who've been marginalized. You talk about voter suppression, you know, it's like them requiring IDs, so certain types of identification before you can vote and all that. But that's what suppression is: closing voting polls, moving machines, and all of this kind of thing. So it's real, and I just pray that people are paying attention. And Deborah, you know, having podcasts like we're having here, I mean, it'll move the needle. It'll move the needle. So let's be encouraged.
And I think it's voter suppression and intimidation,
Another thing,
because they're intimidating folks and trying to get, that if you are a felon and you're off papers, you can vote. But you need to be educated on how you go through the process, and if you're a former felon, all of that kind of stuff needs to be known. We need to make it readily available to our people because that's voter intimidation. Stopping folks at the polls, closing polls down early when they know that there are single mothers who work 9 to 5. You got a pandemic. They have to pick their kids. Somebody else is keeping their kids during the day. And so they intimidate people by saying this, this, and this. And then what happens is a single mother with family, single father with family, and they have to provide for those kids. They say, well, listen, I've just gotten off of work. I'm trying to deal with my kids with COVID at home, and I don't want to stand in a line for 7, 8 hours after I've worked. And so they are suppressed and intimidated.
that people are working on to make sure that people can get out to vote, because I know we cannot have the pews to the polls as we normally polls, and hopefully we can get enough vans as we have done in the past, picking up, getting them to the polls to vote, and making sure that they take the sample ballot home with you, because you cannot vote just a straight ticket anymore. So in educating people who to vote, or voted polls with them, so that if they forget, they have that piece of paper with them. They say, well, this is who I'm voting for. And they can go ahead on and do it that way also. It is not against the law, but it's legal. Through all of this, we know what it's going to take. It's going to take us getting back to God. We know if the heart of man is not right, none of this is going to change at all. So that's why I believe that we can raise up a standard and hold on to it. And hopefully that we can get some of our white evangelical brothers to see the same continuously be division. And when you have a conservative group of individuals who want just certain issues, they look at certain issues, say like, and then you forgetting about the other things in Scripture that Jesus talked about, that we ought to be having, talked about having justice. And if we're going to have one area and forget about the rest. And so there's a lot that's still need to change. Some things that we can do right now to help those who can get that information across, because it's not just a single ticket anymore to know for. And so you cannot go and say, I just want to vote one party or the other. Well, you have to know who you're voting for now. So that education part is going to have to be there also, so that you can get to know the candidates, the League of Women Vote candidates. There's another candidate that's running, so that you can be educated. There's no information is out there for you to get to know who you voting for. So if we just get that information over for their direction to get them to be able to start to vote, and knowing that it's necessary, because it's not just for us any longer. We said earlier, because it's not just for us any longer. We said.
Okay, so he's saying we have to educate our people to vote, and so that's what we need to do. But okay, so I need some explanation here. Let's take you back to 2016 when Trump and Clinton were running for president. Clinton had the lead. Trump was he was trailing Clinton so many thousands of votes. All of a sudden, that electoral college kicked in which is 538 people kicked in, and doggone it, Trump won the election. Tell me how that happened. But a lot of people don't understand the Electoral College. So I'm looking at this my views here, and they want to know about this electoral. How could Trump win the election with those people in the Electoral College? How did that happen? Anybody? Are y'all muted?
Hillary Clinton won by 3 million votes. She won by 3 million votes. The popular vote.
She won years ago,
and
so that they could be able to maintain a.
I don't know. Can y'all hear me or no? Okay. 3 million votes is what she won by. In the Electoral College, the electorate is set up by the various states. And so the thing is, even with the Electoral College, I believe it's obsolete. I believe it's out of date. I believe that the voice of the American people need to be heard. And we don't need the Electoral College because the electorate is voted upon by those we place in office. And when the electorate is there, he panders to them, and you have to have so many votes, so many more votes than the other person in the right place. And that's a problem. There are places that Clinton lost that we probably should not have lost. And we lost them because of what Pastor McGriff was talking about. That's people who are deciding that I'm not voting. I'm voting a third party candidate. When you don't vote, or when you vote for a third party candidate, or when you write in a third party candidate, that is a vote for Trump. People must understand this. We always ask questions about individuals coming up to the elections. Hillary Clinton. I got so angry with CNN. There are people who I like to watch on CNN. But they started talking about those emails. And then people got turned off saying she's she's not trustworthy. Then there were people with Joe Biden who was talking about, well, what did he do with the crime bill? Well, the crime bill in 94 had so much more in it than just what happens in mass incarceration. There were a whole lot of things in the crime bill. Be it as it may, that's dead in the water. But that question was never asked when he was selected by President Barack Obama to become the president. But what we do need to ask, because we've got a lot on record here, is what has Trump done? What has he said? And I know we don't want to go into the white evangelicals, but they influence that electorate too. They influence the Electoral College. Many of those 538 electorates are in our churches, and black people have always been socially conservative and fiscally liberal. We believe in helping the least, the last, and the left out. That's just been where we are, because we know what it feels like to be destitute and need help. But I think that the Electoral College is obsolete. We need to do away with it and let the people's voice be heard. Period.
Totally in favor of outlawing or getting rid of the Electoral College. And here's another thing. This sounds simple, but it's profound. I think, why are we voting on a Tuesday? Why we don't vote on Saturday? People are juggling schedules with work, childcare. People have doctor's appointment, and we know none of these things take place on Saturdays. And so, along with that, I hope one day that they would look into just doing away with the election being on a Tuesday anyway. Why not on a Saturday when people are off? The majority of people are off anyway. But I'm for the popular vote as well. It makes no sense, and it does discourage, especially young people. It discourages a lot of young people, and I've often had to try and defend it, if you will. But like I said, it's just so much going on. But that's how he was able to win the election, through people casting a vote, not necessarily for the majority. A lot of it is party affiliation. So
let me go over here to my viewers and see what they're saying. One person said, "Please say something to the." Hold on. It says, "Please say something to the young people. Some of them have been questioning whether or not they are registered." Well, I tell you what, I can tell you that they can call the county clerk's office to find out whether or not they're registered to vote before they come to vote. And if they're not registered to vote, then you have until October the 1st to register to vote. I mean, October the 5th to register to vote. So you have all that time right now to register to vote. So if it's, I don't care if you're young, old, or whatever, and if you hadn't voted in a long time, it has probably faded away. So you need to check the county clerk's office to make sure that your name is there. So when you come into the building to vote, you will be able to vote. So, you know, don't come down there and saying, I've been voting for years, and you know you hadn't voted for years. Go down there to the call. You can call or you can go down there. Either way, the county clerk's office to make sure your name is there. Please, y'all, please, this is crucial. This is a crucial election. Next person says, electors should vote popular for of their state, but they have the option to vote their choice, and they do. They do have an option. They shouldn't be made to vote the popular. Okay, that was already said. Okay. Okay. I think that this person says family voting starts with your family. Yes, it does. Anybody want to vote? Say something about that? It does. So
yeah, I said that again. When you have to understand when you're voting, you have to realize you're not just voting for yourself. If there are underage kids in your home, if there are grandkids, you're voting for them. Their future is at stake. And certainly if there are people who have lost their right to vote, perhaps through some sort of crime or some issue that they had with the judicial system. So our vote represents more than just the individual. So I agree that it is a family affair. It's a family issue. Just like it's time for family to pray, for family to vote. Everybody that's in your house. That's Elton.
yes. I see Mary Malone. Go ahead.
I agree with Pastor McGriff. I agree with Pastor McGriff. And when millennials, Gen X, anybody went to college and got loans, especially with the black college, to pay attention. Because what Kamala Harris has said and what that team said is that those who have loans, they're looking to forgive those loans. That's how we motivate a lot of people who've got this heavy debt on them. Or you have the parents who have students in college. It is a family affair because they can keep their children under Obamacare up to 26 years old on their insurance. That helps when you're in college because it's hard for people to pay insurance and pay for everything else that you have to pay for. Because college continues to rise. And I think that when we realize how it begins to affect us personally, then the whole family will galvanize. Even most of us, a lot of us, you're in the best shape out of all of us on phone. And got the workout thing going on. But those of us with high blood pressure and diabetes and pre-existing conditions, we have to be careful because those things are covered. And it's in the Supreme Court right now being argued that Obamacare will be taken away, and all of those advantages that we have as black people will be taken away. So everybody really needs to realize it affects every age group.
Okay, so great. Let's talk about Black Lives Matter. So before we end this conversation, we hollering about Black Lives Matter. We all know Black Lives do matter. But so do you think that out of the new presidency that they will try to calm Black Lives Matter down, and that they feel okay? Now we hear you. We know what you're talking about. We know about police brutality. We know about the Breonna Taylor part. We know about Floyd part. So now it's time to calm down. Do you think that it will calm down after we get a new president? What do you think? Anybody? Let me mute out.
Are you speaking of the Black Lives Matter movement? Will it calm down? Okay. I'm not hearing myself, so somebody else go ahead.
And Deborah, I think you're still on mute.
Time. I just said all that and I'm on mute. I said under President Trump right now, he doesn't care about Black Lives Matter. He don't care about who matters. All he cares about is what he matters. So do you think that all the protesting that we're doing, that President Biden, I'm sorry about that Joe Biden will look at the Black Lives Matter movement and do something about it. Come to an end with it. Not come to an end because it ain't gonna never end. Because we've been in this for years.
I don't think it'll ever end. I don't think it ever end, but I think more than anybody paying attention to Black Lives Matter, because some people are being patronizing to us with that. They don't care anything about Black Lives Matter. What they care about is the green dollar matters. And when you watch the NBA games and you see Black Lives Matter on the court, and you drive to major cities and see Black Lives Matter in the middle of the street, that matters because it begins to interrupt the economics that white people have for so long said run the nation. It's really about that green dollar. And so I believe that President Biden, who I hope will become president, and I do serve on his senior advisory team and work with he and Kamala Harris at this point, I think that they understand. He has empathy for people. He at one time was the poorest senator in the Senate because his intentions was not to get rich, but to care about people. And I think that Black Lives Matter will continue, but I think it has become more than a hashtag and a statement. I think that too, as one of your viewers said, that has to happen in our families. I think that we have to press it in our families that we matter, first of all, to each other. We have to know we matter to God, but we matter to each other, and then we have to take life and make it that delicate, and then people will begin to respect us. And do I ever think it's gonna end? No, brutality won't end, none of this will end, but it'll lessen when you start pulling that money out their pocket.
Reverend Tubbs, do you have anything to say? You have to unmute your you have to unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. Okay.
Pastor Tubb, unmute your mic. Pastor Tubb, unmute your mic. Pastor Tubb.
We can hear you. We can hear you. He's freezing.
I don't know that he can hear you, Deborah.
Okay. Black Matter is going to be around for a while. I don't think it's going to stop. I believe here for a while. I know that there's different factions on sides of it. Some look at it economically. The movement itself is a different movement all the. And I have some blacks against it. You got a lot of whites against it, but you got a lot of whites. It's necessary. But I believe the athletes and the sports professionals, I believe that they bought into. And I believe that they're going to continue to make us not get what's going on with blacks in America. We have if we don't forget, and I hope and pray for everyone that for decades, but now that it's I don't believe going anywhere because there's too many people that's actively involved, white and black, brown, Hispanic, and things will begin. But one thing I found about changing, especially with the younger generation, it's like a microwave thing that they want to see changes happen. But there's a process I believe be able to get things changed. No change is worth anything gonna happen overnight. Any change is gonna take place. It's gonna have to be thought out. It's gonna have to strategy. The change will take place. So I do think that this is for a while because you got a lot of people back in that people with influence, people that have a state that they cannot think a lot of things will happen. I think
Okay, guys, the clock on the wall says that it's almost time for us to get on out of here. So that before we get out, I'm gonna have you guys give me a couple of minutes of what you think about how do you think you can motivate these people to vote locally and nationally? I mean, when they vote locally, they're gonna vote nationally because it's all on the same ticket. So how do you think that you can get them out to vote? Give us, a couple of minutes of it. Let's start with Reverend McGriff.
Okay, I think by example, I think we have to lead by example. I think we have to be out front. It doesn't matter, the size of your following or the size of your voice or the size of your audience. I think people learn from observation. So if they see you doing, they got to hear you talking, they got to hear you saying something. And so for me, it'll be learning by example. And then also, we have a associate minister here at our church who's actually put together packets that we're passing out into the public. And we're going into areas where people are normally not targeted, where young people hang out, car washes, just barbecues passing through the neighborhood. So we're putting together a pamphlet with vital information, who to vote for, why you should vote, and things of that nature. So that's hit up on our ministers here. And real quickly, just let me just digress for a second. Black Lives Matter is not going anywhere because it was in response, if you remember, it came into existence from Trayvon Martin.
Right.
Acquittal of George Zimmerman. So it was here before all the publicity. As always, good pros and cons come with it. But it's going to be here for a while. And they are a vital voice against racism and social injustice and systematic racism. But I'm going to lead by example when it comes to voting.
Reverend Tubbs? Reverend Tubbs? Reverend Long? Oh, Reverend Tubbs?
Well, first of all, thank you for Deborah.
You keep
I
freezing.
want to thank you to be with these anointed men of God. Thank you for your need as a people. And continue to encourage people to vote. I'm not voting because it's not. Well, if it didn't mean anything, why do they try to keep it? If it didn't mean nothing, why they put up so many roadblocks in front of it? So it must mean something. But especially if we were looking, I don't know how it is in Harris County where Terrence is, but here in Jefferson County, African Americans as far as registered voters. And there's no election that we should ever lose because of the population and because of the registered voters that's here in Jefferson County that's African American. But this one, Deborah, and through other media, social media networks, because sometimes TV, they spin it the way they want to, but you have a voice now that you can share what you're trying to get out, and making sure that the persons that we're voting for, we're not just trying to meet their agenda, but letting them know we have something that we're trying to accomplish in our community. Help us in our community, then letting them know that we have something of value that we consider important to us. And if we understand that we are valuable to ourselves, our community is valuable to us, and then let them know that we're not just going to vote for accomplish. I want to thank you for allowing me to be here today, and I appreciate the brothers, and hope that we'll ask to come back again.
Reverend Malone.
Okay. Let me thank our moderator. I appreciate you inviting me and allowing me to share. To the other panelists, I thank God for you as well. I think that we have to really internalize it. We have to do some things differently. Blue Table Talk matters. This podcast matters. It needs to be shared. It needs to be sent out. And this is where it begins. So we have to utilize our resources. Every resource that we have to talk to people about voting. Here's the truth. The constituency that already votes are going to vote. Our seniors always vote. They're going to vote. They're going to vote absentee. They're going to vote however they need to vote. We need to talk to these young folks. And this is the kind of stuff that has to happen. We have Community Impact Day coming up at our church. We're going to play music. We're going to have social distancing. We're going to have barbecue. We're going to give to the homeless some brown paper bags and some water. We ain't too safe to line dance. We'll have a good time. And then we're also going to get people registered to vote. When the church begins to do what we have to do and let people know how important it is and utilize every sector of the church, the senior people have to call, young people have to hit the street. Everybody has to work cooperatively to help this thing. But let me just say one last thing. Utilize these platforms like this one, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. Familiarize yourself with them, because that is what people look at every day, all day. Text messages. Churches have to send text messages, whatever we got to do to get people out to the polls. I don't want to talk too long because I see the time, but we got to use everything that's at our fingertips to get people to the polls.
Okay, I appreciate every last one of you guys. I appreciate my viewers for coming out. Remember, we each one teach one. And if I can help somebody as I pass along this way, then I know that my living is not in vain. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for viewing us today. Remember, go out and vote. Early voting starts October 13th through the 30th. We got 3 weeks of early voting. The election day is November 3rd. You have until October the 5th to register to vote. October the 5th to register to vote. Get out there and vote. Get out there and register to vote. Don't forget about the census. It ends this month, September 30th. There's a lot of funding that comes through those census. We need our funding. Black people need that funding. Don't let us be out. We need that funding for the schools, for a fire department, for whatever. We need that funding. So get out and sign, go on www.2020census.gov and register for those, use that application for the census. I love you guys. God bless you. Smooches. You guys stay on. Thank you. Good night.
Salute.